Core exercises or pelvic stabilization exercises are used to heal and to help prevent low back pain. Doctors used to say that a strong low back is accomplished by strengthening the abs. That's completely outdated. Now it's all about making sure those muscles that connect to the pelvis and low back are working in balance. To think about it a different way, core exercises can act as a weight belt to secure your low back. Hi, Dr. Malka here, your chiropractor and acupuncturist practicing in Los Angeles, California. And today I'm going to show you beginner core exercises for a healthy low back. So we're going to start by rocking the pelvis. So tilt it this way and then go ahead and arch your low back. And then bring it in the opposite direction, pushing the low back into the floor and then arching the low back. And you're going to continue to do this. It's going to help secure these areas here as well as stretch out the low back a little bit. Now you're going to find what your neutral is. Everybody's is different. And once you find your neutral, that's going to be your pelvic brace, which is the base to where all your exercises are going to come from. So my neutral is right about here. It should be where your low back is just lightly touching the floor. Holding this in place, let's begin. We're going to start by keeping the right leg bent and slide the left leg down. And bring it back up. And then slide the other leg down. Obviously, you'll want to do this with your socks on so you can slide and bring it back up. And this is to be done very carefully. You want to make sure your back is in neutral, so when you straighten the leg, you're not arching that low back. And if you feel like you can't straighten it all the way without arching the low back, then just go halfway and stop and come back up. And these pelvic stabilization exercises or core exercises are really for people who have back injuries, because you can see it's very delicate. I'm really treating the low back with kid gloves. And continue doing this for 1 to 2 minutes, making sure the low back never arches. So now that we're finished, go ahead and give your knees a hug up to your chest. This is just a basic stretch that you can do anytime during your exercises to stretch out that low back if you feel it getting sore. If you have knee issues, you can bring your hands under your knees like so and just hug them to the chest. So continuing on, we're going to lift the knee up to 90 degrees and then bring the legs straight. And then plant the foot on the ground. Is your pelvis in a nice stable situation? That pelvic brace, make sure the low back is just lightly touching the floor. Let's do the other leg up and then straight. And then back down to the ground. And then up, straight, and then back down to the ground. Once again, up, and then straight out, and then back down to the ground. And again, you can repeat this 3 to 5 times on each side, or maybe 10 times. This is all a progression. As we continue, the exercises are going to become slightly more difficult. So you'll have to stop if at any point you have any pain in your low back. Now continue with that knee bent. Let's go ahead and do that pelvic tilt again. Arch the low back. Bring the low back, pushing it into the floor. And rock this a few times. And then once again, find your neutral, which should be where your low back is just barely touching the floor. Now we're going to drop the legs to one side and only go as far as you're not lifting the hips up. These are all controlled movements. We're not necessarily stretching, but we're controlling movements and using these pelvic floor muscles to control these movements, to help strengthen and bring all these muscles into balance. Over to the other side, making sure you're not lifting the hip off the floor. And as you become more flexible and these muscles are able to control the movements, you'll be able to go further and further down. But coming all the way down is not our goal. Our goal is to just have all these muscles working together and helping to control that low back. Okay, now we're ready to go on our hands and knees. In order to do that, to keep your low back protected, you want to roll completely on your side and then use your hands to push yourself up. So we're going to continue. Shoulders right above the wrists, knees right above the hip. Let's start with bringing the right hand arm out straight and then down, and the left arm out straight and then back. And you might think, well, what is this doing for my pelvis? Well, having to do this, balancing on one arm and bringing this arm out, it does help with the core of the body. And then bring the other arm out and then back. And again, repeat this 3 to 5 times. Now coming into the neutral. And now that we're going to do the legs, we want to find that neutral spine again. So roll the pelvis and then arch the low back and then roll. This is also a nice little stretch for the low back if it's starting to feel tight at this point. And then arch. And then again, try to find the midpoint between the rolling and the arch. And then that's your neutral point. Mine's right about here. And it really should be a straight low back. And then continuing with the leg. Bring the legs straight out, parallel to the floor. If you can't find that parallel, you're not sure, just put a mirror over to the side so you can see your leg, and then bring it down. Now at this aspect of this exercise, you can really see how the pelvis is really working. Also, when you're doing this, you really want to make sure your pelvis is facing the floor. So you're not tilting like this, you're not tilting down. You really want to be at neutral. And this is a nice slow exercise. The slower you do it, the more you're practicing balance. And then down again, repeating this 3 to 5 times. So continue doing these beginner core exercises until they become very easy, and then you can continue on with the intermediate ones. So go ahead and please like and subscribe so I can continue giving you great content. We will be launching a new YouTube video every Wednesday and Friday at 3 p.m. and I'll be available for any questions you have or suggestions for future videos.